Hey guys, good times. Tonight it's time to put the cylinder heads on the 440. So before you get started with the cylinder heads, you're going to want to do some basic preparation. I'll go through that real quick. On the Mopar, there's, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 basically that are holding down the cylinder head around each cylinder. There's a row here of 4, another row of 5, and then a third row here with 8 bolt holes. And well, some of you might not be working on a 440 Mopar, but you'll want to check that these are all, blind holes that just do not go into the water jacket. Okay, so the quick check is just grab something like a screwdriver and go through and double check. If you do have any bolts that go into the water jacket, you're going to want to use some special sealant on them. But as you can see on this engine, they don't. The second step you're going to want to go through, and I basically did this already, is get yourself a tap. Of course, it's got to be the exact size for the bolts that your block is tapped for. These are 7/16 coarse, and what you want to do is just make sure that there's no garbage, old caked in oil, dirt, whatever, from the original block, from the machining process, if you had your block cleaned up or whatever. So you're going to want to go into each one of these and just make sure, that your bolts are going to be able to go in nice and smooth. Okay. If you get a little resistance when you get down, like 6 turns or something, that's probably okay. But go ahead and take your bolt and, make sure that it's going to go in without, any resistance. So let's see. Here's a bolt. You can put a drop of oil on it if you want, but they should thread in quite easily by hand. You might not be able to bottom them out all the way, but as you can see there, that one is actually bottomed out and it went in by hand. So nice and clean on all the threaded holes in your block. That's the key. And I guess the next thing you'll want to think about is lubricant. I bought new ARP rod bolts. They're over here. Okay. And I already started with the lubricant. They recommend you use this Ultra Torque. And the way you want to put that on, there's a little trick to that, I guess. I'll just read the instructions. But the first thing with the ARP bolts is they've got a washer. And the washer has a big chamfer on it. I think you can probably see it there. It's like a 45-degree lead-in. And what that's for is on the back side of the bolt, there's really not much, but there's a tiny radius there. And I guess you can imagine it, but when they form the bolt, right about here, there's just a little transition. And you don't want the washer getting hung up on that. So make sure you put them on correctly, which means the chamfer, okay, is facing, up to the bolt, the head of the bolt, okay? And the flat side is down, which is going to be against your cylinder head. All right, so that said, ARP bolts, of course, they're new. They're, of course, made to very high standards. They're very much the same as the originals, except one thing, the head. They come in different styles. I like the hex, but as you can see, they're much smaller than the factory head bolts. So yeah, the factory ones take a massive socket. So they're 3/4, I think. Yeah, 3/4 inch. So the problem with that is this giant socket is probably not going to fit on aluminum cylinder heads. And you'll see that in a minute. So the ARP bolts, obviously they plan for that. That's why they have this tiny head. It's 1/2 inch. And let's see, yeah, 1/2 inch. Okay, so you have a lot more clearance with your sockets. Even a 1/2 inch impact socket, I think I have one out, is pretty thick wall to the point where it might not even fit. So I have my thinner wall sockets here ready to go. All right, so now everything's clean here. You can spin your block over and you can actually clean out those holes if you want. Just wrestle that beast so that you're not going to put any junk, inside the down on your pistons there. And you can come in from below. Nothing fancy here, but just get yourself a towel. You can use some cleaner. I don't know, WD-40 or PB Blaster. You could use any type of solvent. And go ahead and, squirt that up in there. And then take your screwdriver and a nice clean rag. And you can basically run it right in those holes and clean them right out. If you got just a tiny bit of grime that comes out, that's okay. But when you're done tapping them, try to get most everything out so that there's nothing that's going to hang up in those threads. Okay. So a little bit of junk like that's what's coming out from the one that I just cleaned. Okay. Well, once you're convinced that those are all set and ready to go, you want to get the lube on your bolts. And for doing that, let me spin the engine back around here. I'm going to bring it so that we're working on a flat surface this time. Okay. And a little bit more. Let's see how that looks on the camera. Reposition it. Maybe zoom out a little bit. Okay, that's decent. All right. So your bolts. What you want to do is you want to get some of that lube down here between the head and the washer so that it can spin. Get a little bit of lube on it. Get some lube, of course, on the threads. And these are the big ones that run along the valve springs. There's 5 of those. And then there's 12 of these short ones. So you've got like 4 inches, and these are, I don't know, a little less than 2 inches. So get the lube on them. And that's going to take you a little bit of time. I mean, I spent 10 minutes off camera just getting those ready to go. So we didn't drag on too much here on the video. All right, make sure your block is clean and your cylinder heads. So what I'll do here is just give these a real quick wipe. Grab yourself a clean towel, some mineral spirits, or some, rubbing alcohol. I guess I have both out here, but we'll go with the rubbing alcohol this time. Get a splash of that going. And you could probably use tequila or anything. But make sure they're clean. It's the last time you're going to see them. Make sure there's nothing weird going on by the valves. No burrs, no dirt, nothing in there that's going to mess up the sealing. Okay. Set these here on a nice clean flat surface. And then get after the block a little bit here. Make sure that's clean, especially around these dowels. Make sure your dowels don't have any burrs. Okay. I was looking at my block when I came out here tonight, and I saw just a little gack here on the corner. I'm not sure what it was from, but right about here, there's actually a little high spot, like something had nicked it when it was maybe getting thrown around at the machine shop. So I just took my file and just made sure that it's not sticking up. Of course, there's going to be a gasket in here, and it has some thickness. So, a small burr is actually not going to really be trouble in reality, but, hey, you don't want to be sorry and have it, too high. So clean up any burrs. Make sure that your oil passage is open. That's right here. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit. You can see how this surface looks. You notice there's no hole here, but there's a hole over here. And that's for the 4th journal here, the bearing of the camshaft. When it goes around, you see these passageways here. That's bringing the oil up to the valve train on either side. So, of course, make sure those are clean. Obviously you cleaned your block before you got started, but make sure no towel junk or anything got in there. For that matter, this is the last time you're going to look at your pistons, so you might as well make sure that, there's nothing weird in there. When you are putting oil on your cylinder walls, just dust in the air will tend to accumulate. So it will get there and it'll start to look fuzzy. So just make sure you don't have anything in there because, last time you're going to see them. Okay, what next? How about the head gasket? So I'm going to run Fel Pro gaskets, and of course they're good quality. They're not the thinnest. I know if people are going for race engines, they want more compression, and thinner is better. But I think these things are going to be fine for me. If you compare them, I went and found one of the original gaskets because I noticed that these Fel Pros have these slots. You see the slot there? And you'll see when you put that on, okay, there's not much of a hole. And I was like concerned that, well, maybe those should be opened up a little bit more, but you know, obviously Fel Pro thought about it real close, and even the factory ones look the same way. They've got those slots. Okay, so make sure your head gaskets match. Make sure there's nothing weird going on. You know, where you can see where the valves are going to come in. You got these sealing rings that are actually not true circles. They've got a little bit of like clearance in certain areas, but you don't want your gasket overhanging. Now this is only board 30 over, not 60 or more. So my gasket's a little bit bigger, and it'll be fine. Again, this is a pump gas engine. Just, you know, it's going to hopefully sound good, make decent power, but it's not, you know, the end all for getting every last horsepower. If you're worried about that, well, get a gasket that's perfectly sized for your cylinder bores, I guess, and go from there. Okay, now this is the last time, like I say, you're going to see this stuff. So what I saw a comment on one of my last videos was curiosity on the deck height versus, you know, the piston here. So we can go ahead and check that. This is just a quick way, but you can just take your caliper here and try to use this little extension to rest on the piston and bring this down until it hits the block, and check what you got. So yeah, they're not all the way to the top, I get it. So we'll see, maybe I'm somewhere 9 to 1 compression, a little higher than that. I don't really want to be 10 or 11 to 1, or I'm going to be into premium or race fuel. So but knowing this, you could go back and back calculate the amount of volume, pi r squared times this depth, and, you know, add that up to the combustion chamber volume. Now these aluminum heads are the ProMaxx, like you probably saw in my other video, and they're kind of like the, I don't know, 67 closed chamber heads. So they're a little bit smaller, I think, which yields a little bit more compression. So that'll be nice. What else here? We pulled all the inner springs out. So I'm only running, sorry, I only have 2 hands here, but I'm only running the outer spring and the damper. All the inner springs have been pulled out just for cam break-in, and then we'll go back and put those in when it's on the engine, and that'll probably be tricky, but okay, we'll figure it out. And also probably retorque the cylinder heads after it's been run in for half an hour or something, and we had the valve cover off. It might be a good time to just verify we're still at 70 foot-pounds. So yeah, pretty much everyone says 70 foot-pounds. You do not want to over torque them. I'm going with the printed side up here on the Fel Pro gasket. Everything looks good. All surfaces are clean, so let's set them on there. All right, intake side, the big Siamese ports, exhaust side here. Just line it up, look down at the holes, and it'll find its way on the dowels. Try not to get your gloves stuck under there. Okay, make sure your gloves are clear. Okay, good. Sitting on there nice. And let's get started getting the bolts in. Cover my alcohol here. And let's see, let me set the big ones in first, get those out of the way. Now the torque sequence is essentially working from the middle and working your way out. So you can look it up online. That's what I did. Yeah, hopefully my microphone's working. I've got a remote mic here today. I tried it on one other video, I think, when we were cleaning these things up with the power washer. Okay. And I went through and numbered them. I put some numbers on here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So just with some magic marker, went ahead and put the numbers there so I don't have to think too hard about it. You don't want to skip one along the way. There are 17. Yeah, I think this one here was, that was 16. This one's 17. Okay. Get all these things loaded in here. Nice. Okay. They've all been lubed and looking good. All right, we're going to hand start them and then get after it with this 3/8 ratchet. Just make sure they start nice. Now's the time. If you got a little booger in there or something, you could get it cleaned up. Okay. Let's go after it like this. You know, probably go in steps, like typical. I'll do them hand tight a little bit, and then I'll get after it with the torque wrench. I got my big 1/2-inch drive wrench here. And, well, depending how tight they are with just hand tightening, maybe we'll go 45, or no, maybe like 40, 55, 70. That 3 steps. So hand tight, snug them up, and then go 3 steps. That's probably what we'll do. Okay. By the way, the cylinder heads, the lefts and the rights, or I don't think there is a left and a right, but I noticed both of them were, you know, drilled and tapped on the front here, you know, for your accessories, alternator, what have you. So I don't think you have to worry about that. You might want to put your distributor in. If you're running a weird distributor, make sure that it clears your cylinder head. Now would be the time to get out the die grinder if you needed to, you know, just get a little bit more clearance somewhere. Okay. They're all going in real nice with that ARP lube on it. You know, I bought a couple packets along the way. I think I also had one come with the, what was it? Not the can. The can might have been driven lube. The bolts did come with another packet though, so I've got plenty of it. Don't need to be shy. This one here is just a little bit of drag, not much. Most of them are going in real nice by hand. Since I got the ratchet, I'll come around here and then we'll get the ones that are a little harder to see on the inside. Okay. Got a row here of 4 of them. All right. One more. And then what we'll do is we'll go around with the camera and just make sure that cylinder head's sitting nice on the block or on the gasket. Okay, let's take a quick look here. Okay, yep, looks good there. Looking good there. Gasket here, here, here. I think we're good. Okay, let's get started with the torque sequence. I'll show you that. Maybe raise this thing up just a little bit if it'll go anymore. Well, it might be all the way up, I don't know. There, a little bit better. Okay, let's try that. All right, so by hand, this is number 1, right in the very center. Then a little to the right is number 2. And then 3 is actually up here. Okay, on this top row. 4 down here to the bottom. 5 over here. Okay, you kind of are getting the idea. This one's 6. 7. Okay, 8 down here. 9 here. Okay, and let me see, this is 10. I gotta learn to write a little bit neater. I can hardly read my own writing. 11. Okay, 12. There's 13 up in the top row. Okay, 14 over here. 15 in the middle row. And 16 here. And 17 here. Okay, there you go. So I'm going to go back over one more time. 1 in the middle. 2 over here. 3 up on the top row. 4 here. 5 over here. Top row. 6 down here. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14 all the way over here on the end. 15 up top, long one. 16 over here, short one. And 17. Okay, so not a lot of torque there, but enough that we can now jump to the torque wrench. All right, and I'll put my adapter on and keep using the small one. We could check the actual 1/2-inch drive socket, but yeah, as you see, there's a clearance problem. Not machined. It does fit on these just barely, but these down here next to these angled spark plug holes are the problem. So you're pretty much into ARP bolts or some alternative to the stock ones if you're going to do these aluminum heads similar to these. All right, so what did I say? 40 and then maybe 55. Let's see what 40 feels like. Here's 1. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, nice, 6, 7 up here, 8 down here, 9, 10, back to this side, 11, working our way out, 12, 13, 14 over here, and 15. Okay, 16, and finally 17. Okay, well guys, you get the idea. You can stick with me if you want, but that's the gist of it. There's 50, 55 on the wrench. Okay, we're gonna see how that feels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Well, my preschool counting is paying off. 17. All right, up to 70, and then we are done. Let's make sure we get this right. 60. Coming around. 70 right there. I feel like I can't read that sideways. All right, well, we're going to feel those bolts stretch a little bit, doing their thing. Okay, number 1. Beautiful. 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Bingo. All right, I get worked up a sweat. Of course, it's, what is it, 11 o'clock at night. It's still 80 degrees here in Michigan. Go figure. Whew. All right, so this one's done, and I'm not going to bore you with the second one. It's over there and waiting, and I will probably hit that one tomorrow because it's getting late. All right, well, hey, thanks for sticking with me, and we will eventually get this thing together. See ya.